All right, so Bridget, why don't you first just introduce yourself and say where you grew up?
Okay, my name is Bridget O'Connor, and I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. So it was pretty hectic all the time. The oldest is 13 years older than me, so everybody was pretty much a teenager by the time that I was born. So we had a huge house, and we had a constant revolving door of people and parties, and there was a lot going on in my house. My parents both liked to entertain, so we were always having dinners, and we've got a huge extended family, so there was always lots and lots of people in our house.
Yeah.
But because I was the youngest of all those kids, I was not really my own person. I was always somebody's little sister or somebody's cousin or something like that, and so I was always thirsting for, to my own identity. I was always looking kind of to get out.
Yeah.
And so my mom, she used to say that I always was running away, because apparently I was always running away. So I don't know, it was because I had lots of older brothers and sisters. I was just maybe more mature. I knew that there was lots of fun to be had. I was always searching for something. I was searching for my next piece of fun or something. I don't know. So when I was in kindergarten, I think it was, I met this friend. I can't even remember her name. God, it's terrible that I can't remember her name. And she asked me if I could come over after kindergarten. I think it was half-day kindergarten. And my mom had just gone back to work because I was the youngest, and she was, they needed the money. So she had arranged for my brother to come home from school for lunchtime to pick me up when I got home from kindergarten before she got home from work. And I knew that, and I was supposed to go home and meet him there. And so I did. I guess I was supposed to walk home. I don't remember even how. Maybe he was supposed to come pick me up. I don't remember. Anyway, they asked me if I could come over and play. And I said, yeah, sure, I want to come over. And they go, well, we need to go ask your mom. So I said, okay, but I knew my mom wasn't home. And so they drove me to my house, and I got out of the car. I walked into my house, and I had a pretend conversation with my mom, who wasn't there, and said, can I go over to her house? Okay. And then I went and said, yeah, she said it was fine. And I went to this girl's house. And I don't know, how old are you in kindergarten? 5? So I was at her house. We were having a great time, and all of a sudden the mom comes down to see us. I think we were on the swing set or something, and she's like, yeah, this isn't a good situation or something. And I'm like, what's up or whatever. And my mom had come home. My brother came home, and I wasn't there, and he was freaking out, and my mom was freaking out. And of course I had no idea that anyone was going to be freaking out. This wasn't like the Amber Alert time or whatever. People didn't just disappear. So anyway, they had called the police, and the police, they were doing some sleuth thing all afternoon, trying to figure out. They called my teacher, and they were like, who is she friends with? Where could she be? And my teacher mentioned that I was friends with this girl. I still can't remember her name. Mary Caldwell. I don't think that was right. And so the police came to pick me up at this house. It was, and my mom was beside herself with grief. That was the first time I ran away. To me, that wasn't running away, because I was totally fine, and everything was good, and there was not a problem. But apparently there was a big problem that I didn't know about. That was the first time I ran away. Sure. Anyway, it was pretty bad. I felt, looking back on it now, I feel really bad. My mom must have been freaking out.
Do you have a history of running away?
My mother thinks I do, and I guess I do. I have also, I've run away from school another time when I was in the 6th grade. I went to Catholic school, and there was, our teachers were nuns, and some of them were very nice, but most of them were kind of mean.
Oh, no.
And in the 6th grade, I had a new teacher. She'd arrived on the scene. Her name was Sister Augustine, and she was a big fucking bitch. I'll just tell you that
Yeah.
right away. The first day of school, we instantly took a disliking to each other, which wasn't a good thing when you went to school with nuns. Like, you didn't want them to not like you. Anyway, this nun in particular was not very nice, and there was one day that I went to school, and it wasn't a good day. It was raining, and I had to walk to school, and when I got to school, I took my glasses off, and I broke my glasses. So immediately I was in trouble, because I didn't have, my glasses were broken, and the teacher helped me, like, tape them back, but it looked really ugly with, like, masking. It was, like, an ugly tape job. And then it was Friday, and in those days, on Fridays, your times tables were due. We used to have to write our times tables out 10 times each, 1 through 12, 1 times 1, 1 times 2, all the way up to 12, and I hadn't done it. I don't know why I hadn't done it. I was usually pretty good about that. And then I only had one more piece of paper, so I was trying to do my times tables, and my glasses were broken, and then this teacher was so mean, and she broke us up into groups, and she was working with the other group, and I was supposed to be working independently, but I couldn't figure out the directions. Like, it was this weird exercise that didn't make sense to me. So I raised my hand and said, I need help because I don't understand. And she said, I'm not helping you. You need to figure it out. And I was like, what a fucking bitch, as, like, my point. And, so I tried again, and I still couldn't figure it out, and I had scratched some stuff out, and I guess you didn't scratch stuff out in those days. So she came over finally and started yelling at me because I had scratched stuff out on my paper, and it was my last piece of paper because I needed the other piece for my times tables that I was going to do at lunch. Anyway, a thought came over me that I couldn't stand this woman, and I wasn't going to take another second of her crap, and so I stood up, and I left her classroom, and I went down the stairs. It was winter. I don't think it was winter. It was like November or something, so it was kind of cold. And I used to hang out at a radio station on my way to and from school. There was this radio station in the square, kind of in the middle of my commute, and that's where I went. I went to the radio station, and they were like, "Whoa, what are you doing here?" Because I was crying and upset because I hated this woman. And I still don't really like her to this day. And the president of the radio station, Bo Wood, came out and fixed my glasses, and they calmed me down, and they agreed with me that she was a bitch. And I sat there for a couple of hours, and they were like, I'm sure they were like, we've got to get this girl out of here. Like, we cannot have this girl here. And so they were kind of coaching me to go back. They were thinking that I should go back. And I was just kind of getting ready to leave when my brother came in with one of the ladies that worked at the school. And he's like, I knew she'd be here. So they had pulled my brother out of class to ask him, where would she go? Well, of course, my brother knew that I hung out at this radio station. And so, anyway, they brought me back to school, and I got in trouble, and I had to write this apology letter to Sister Augustine. And my parents didn't really even know about it because they called home. Both my parents worked. My sister was in college at the time, and she sort of fielded the call and dealt with the situation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did they find out later?
Well, my sister later, she has no recollection of this, but later she told me, you really need to tell Mom and Dad. And so she said, I'll go in with you when you tell Dad. My dad was like, laying in bed because he woke up really early in the morning. And I said, well, okay, I'll only do it if you go in with me. So she walked in the room and closed the door behind me with her on the outside.
Nice.
And yeah, and they of course knew already because she had already told them. But so anyway, I had to own up to it, and he was telling me what a good person she was, and that I needed to offer it up, and all this stuff. And I was like, she was not a good person. I still to this day believe that she wasn't a good person. That's a terrible lesson for me to be telling your schoolmates, but it's true. Anyway, so yes, I guess I do have a history of running away.
Yeah. And now you're in Portland.
Yes, and then, I did move to Eugene 2 weeks after I graduated from high school. I didn't know anybody, and I wanted to leave Ohio, probably from right before that time in 6th grade when I ran away. So, as my mother says, you were always running away.
Yeah.
I guess I was.
Yeah. You wanted out.
I did want out, and I got out.
Yeah. And now you're here.
And now I'm here, and I don't want to go back.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.